Hello. Okay, so it was about 10 days ago. There was an incident at a zoo in Sweden, the Fru- Faruviksparken Zoo. It's in near Gavle, Sweden. I'm probably not pronouncing any of that correctly. Um, so some chimpanzees escaped. Half of them were killed. Um, like I said, this was about 2 weeks ago. I've been doing a little research on chimpanzees since then. Still hard to find details that agree on the actual incident itself. So, what we're finding from the internet, various articles, 7 chimpanzees total. Um, According to most articles, 3 of them are well, one was wounded, 3 were shot, dead. Um, According to one article, 4 were killed, 1 was wounded, 2 were um, well. So, like I said, that one article could have come later, or it could have just had its facts wrong. I don't know. It's like I said, it's been 2 weeks looking up articles on it. Haven't seen many updates that gave actual details. So what happened? Not really sure. So the zoo is closed to the public for wintertime. So that's one fortunate thing about it. Somehow, so as I understand it, the chimpanzees were in their enclosure. Well, not their enclosure, but their the monkey house they call it. I know chimpanzees aren't monkeys. Everyone wants to say, but the article, almost all the articles called them the monkey house. But they got out of their enclosure, so they each had their own little cage or whatever, and then 4 of them, no, 3 of them got out of the monkey house. So again, doesn't really say how. I'm assuming somehow they got out of their enclosures and someone opened a door, not knowing that they were loose, and they got out. Best assumption I can do. Like I said, it's been 2 weeks and none of the articles have many details. So the big uproar is, did they have to kill the ones that they killed? There were no visitors at the park. Like I said, it was closed. But on the other hand, the zoo official said that these were still dangerous to the staff, so they did what they could best do. Tranquilizers don't act as quickly as people think they do. They can take up to 10 minutes to respond, and basically you're shooting something with a dart, so you're going to anger it. So you want to be a fair distance away, or you want to have some protection. Uh, Tranquilizer darts, you have to be fairly close to you, so it's more of a matter of being someplace safe to fire it at, as opposed to being far away. Um, so in general, I did some research on chimpanzees. You can't find a lot on the zoo itself or the actual incident, but chimpanzees themselves. This is something I've always believed. In a fair fight, or in a equal fight, a chimpanzee has about a 50% chance of defeating a man hand to hand, in my opinion. So chimpanzees, we watch TV, Tarzan movies and all the others, and he's got the person holding the chimpanzee, and oh, isn't so cute, and how can such a little thing do any damage? And the key word there is little thing. Most of these, what we see in the movies, they are like a few years old. Chimps in captivity, they can grow, they can be, get up, they average around 40 years age. According to one of the articles, one of the chimpanzees at the zoo was actually 45. Also had a tendency to throw rocks at visitors, so this isn't necessarily a safe animal. I mean, even it was fascinating. Scientists were fascinated because it actually collected a bunch of rocks and then were throwing them at visitors. So it like thought this through. Um, and like I said, chimpanzees, they're climbing animals. They climb trees. That's one of their main primary activities. Getting food, whatever. They're climbing constantly. So they're a lot stronger than humans. Like I said, average fight. I would say age-wise, a chimpanzee could probably defeat a human the same age, even with the size difference. So just because they're stronger than humans. Uh, so there are two types of chimpanzees, or two are the more common kind. There are the common chimpanzee and the dwarf chimpanzee, or the bonobos, as the dwarf ones are now called often. The common one can grow as tall. An adult male can grow to be 4'11" and weigh about 150 pounds, which, again, those are the, you know, I know women who have the same vital statistics, same height and weight, uh, adult women. So, and unlike humans with the chimpanzee, this is mostly muscle. So, like I said, a 45-year-old chimpanzee against a 45-year-old man, I'm tended to give odds for the chimpanzee to win, just because they're stronger. The bonobos average around 3'6". Weight wise, I forget, it was roughly 120 pounds if I'm not mistaken. So, like I say, I'm not defending the zoo's actions in killing these things, but their reasoning that these are dangerous animals, yes, I am agreeing with. In the wild, a man against a wild chimpanzee, the chimp's probably going to win. If it's hand to hand, no other weapons involved. I would even say, a martial artist expert. A lot of martial arts is waiting for an opening. It's not, going in and attacking like they do in the movies. It's waiting for an opening. That's something chimpanzees and other apes tend to do naturally. They don't just charge in attacking like you see. They they'll wait for their chance. It's just something. So they aren't necessarily trained in martial arts, but the basic concept of waiting for an opening, they do naturally. What else was I thinking about here? So again, this we're used to seeing tame apes on movies. Cheetah from Tarzan. He never fought. He ran away. Real apes, they'll fight. And again, cheetah, maybe 10 years old or less. I don't know its age exactly, but they will grow to be much bigger than cheetah ever was in any of the movies. So yeah, they can be dangerous. They can be a lot more dangerous. That's what zoos. That's what I was thinking of. So, um, the Furuvik Zoo is one of the few, or I think the only, primate research center in Scandinavia. Um, Part of this, zoos. When I was growing up, zoos were mostly cement enclosures, metal cages. You got the animals in them. That was years ago. Since then, they've changed. They tried to make the enclosures a lot more like the native, um, natural inhabitant, or natural environment of the animal. So they'll have trees growing, and they'll have large grassy enclosures and stuff like that for chimpanzees. For research, they do have an indoor place where the chimpanzees can go, and we can observe them from But it's not like the old days where, you got this thing in a cage and you go and you dump your food in the cage and it eats and goes back to doing whatever it's doing, sleeping mostly because there's not much else for it to do. Newer cages, newer zoos, they do think they try to hide the food. Make the animals look for the food. That way, again, they're getting exercise. They're behaving more like they would naturally do. They're behaving more instinctively than they did in the zoos that I grew up with. Because again, we want them to live a more natural life, so we put them in a situation where they have to live by their natural instincts. So again, these chimpanzees, even though they're used to humans being around, because we go and we see the view and we watch them, they're still trained or they've still been raised to rely on their natural instincts, which are to fight things which they don't understand or which might be threatening to them. So the idea we can just pick this thing up and take it back to its cage and put it back in isn't really that believable. It's when it was younger, maybe. As they got older, they started following their instincts, which was to challenge anything that might come at them. It's familiar with the keepers, yes, and so it's less of a threat than it would be to a complete stranger, but it's still a bit of a threat. So, I mean, we can go into the whole are zoos themselves immoral or inhumane? And should we just let them run around in the wild? I can see a point in that. On the other hand, most environmentalists, it's about trying to protect animals, which, not a bad, I'm not against that. I'm all for it. I like animals. But most of what we know about animals and why we think they're so cute and why we want to protect them comes from the fact that we've seen them in zoos. Things living in Africa, an ocean away, people don't care as much about. It is that we have seen them, we can observe them. I guess yes, we can watch them on movies, but again, like I said, movies don't give us the full picture. So zoos are, most people wouldn't have even known about animals or gotten to like them if they didn't see them in zoos at some point. Bit of a oversimplification there, I admit, but we wouldn't care as much about the environment if we didn't see animals in zoos. So are zoos themselves immoral? Yes and no, but yeah, it would be nice if the animals were running free in their own lands, but at the same time, we wouldn't care about them as much if they weren't. We wouldn't care about the environment as much if we didn't have the animals to care for. So that's it. Like I said, I just want to point out, I'm not defending what the zoo did, but I'm not condoning, I'm not condemning it either. It's, it's a situation most of us would have no idea how to handle. Chimpanzees are more dangerous than we think. And so that's all I had to say, and have a good day.